Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler from Melda Production, and today I thought I'd show you how to make a clean 1980s style chorus sound in MGuitararchitect. This hasn't been released yet, but I thought I'd start doing some previews and showing you basically how things work and basically my workflow. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is set the input level. The reason this is because different guitars and different pickups have different inputs, and we want things to sound relatively the same. So what this can do is it will just make sure this is the same for all your guitars and pickups. So what we're going to do is just make sure we are armed here. For the analyze input level, we're just going to push this and we're going to hit some chords very loud so it tells us what the ideal input is for 0 dB. Here we go. Okay, so that's our input level. Let's play something. That seems okay. If you feel that, let's say your signal is hitting 0 dB, you can bring this down a little bit manually. So that's what you can do. I like to set this when I'm making the presets, so that way when other people play this with different guitars, it should sound roughly the same. Now I'm using a split position, the second position on my pickup switch with a coil splitter, but you can use whatever you want for this sound. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to hear what I'm playing so that way I'm not just turning knobs in the dark. Now I could just play my guitar while I'm doing this, but the problem is sometimes I hear the sound of my strings mixed with the sound coming out of my computer, and it's a little bit distracting, and sometimes I can't tell. I think maybe the sound is too stringy or too trebly, but it's not. It's my own sound. To eliminate that, we can just use a looper and have that play for us. So we add this in here. We don't want the follow host playback because we're not going to be using the play button in our DAW. So just turn that off. I can turn the play off here too, and let's just hit record and play something. Make sure our track is armed here. Okay, let's go. There we go, we recorded it. I'll turn this off. Let's just play it back. Now that we have that sound, that's what we can use, and we can just loop this and play it back to hear what we're adding. First thing I want to do is add an amp. So we'll just go into here. What I'm going to use for this is I'm going to use the Solid Jazz. Now we have this. Before I set this up, let me just turn this down just in case it's too loud. And let's add a cabinet. There's a lot we can use in here, but I'm going to use the shimmer. I made this specifically for like clean, bright sounds. So we have these two set up. We're going to go into our looper. If you don't want to keep flipping back between these, we can take our looper, click this button, and just pop it out. So now we can go to the amp and we can play this and adjust this in real time. So let's play this and adjust our amp. So I just turned down the bass, up the middle, the mids, and the treble a bit. I turned on the bright switch, which cuts off some of the bass too, and I adjusted the Z control. The Z control kind of scoops things, so it's not so many mids and it's more highs and lows, which I think sounded better in this case. Next thing, we're going to do the same thing with the cabinet. Just move around these four options and see which one sounds good. I think around this glimmer sound sounds the best for this track. Now the next thing we can do is we're going to add some compression to make this really pop out. We can either put this before or after the amp. It's up to you. They have different sounds. Before the amp, it will probably have a little bit less gain. So if you want to turn up the compression more, do that. If you feel like, oh wow, coming out of the cabinet, it's like compressing too much, I can't turn the knob down enough, you might want to put it before. So that's up to you. Let's try it afterwards. I'm going to use the studio comp, or the comp studio, but you could use the normal comp if you want. I like this Melda 1176 here, but it's up to you. Let's do this, play it, and adjust the compression. So that really brings things up. That really brings things up and makes it much more compressed, and it sounds just louder and in your face. Lots of the notes I hit were a little bit uneven. Some of them were really loud, some of them were soft, etc. And this kind of evens it out, and it gives it that like popping sound, which is what I want here. So this is all sounding pretty good, but let's get into the real stuff to make it sound more 80s. We're going to use some chorus. So let's look in the Stomps FX. Here we have a chorus pedal. Wet dry, I want it 100%. Make sure it's in stereo, because that's what I want. Let's turn the rate up to around 1 hertz, maybe a little bit more. The range, I can move down a little bit. I don't want it all the way to the middle, all the way to the bottom. The middle is probably too much. Maybe around here is good. So, also turn the output down, because this sometimes adds some gain. So let's turn it about like 2 or 3 decibels, like this. Let's play it now. That's sounding pretty good. And the last thing, let's just put some reverb on there. Look here, my reverb, it's in the Stomps main. So for this, let's turn the chorus off just so I can hear what the reverb's doing. So I'm going to turn the ducking off. I don't really need that. Dampening is okay there. This low pass filter is okay. Tone, I think, is all right. Hall setting is good. Mix is probably about right. The length is probably too long. So let's play it, listen to the length, and turn that down. That's sounding pretty good. Now let's turn the chorus on, and this should be our final product. There we go. Now, to me, this is sounding pretty good. You might want to just go and take your guitar and see, if I play something else, does it also sound good? It's sounding okay to me. Sometimes if you make this using a specific loop like that, I may not get enough low end, and then when I hear the low end playing a different riff or different chords, like, this doesn't sound good. So you go back and, adjust it. You might even put a different loop in there and record that and see if that sounds good. But basically, this is how I would make a preset and come up with a sound for that 80s chorus. There's other things you could do there. Instead of using the chorus, you could use the doubler if you think that sounds better. You could use a different type of reverb. You could use a different cabinet, different amp, etc. So the possibilities are really endless, but I thought I would show you how I would do a sound like this. Also, I like to keep the input level here. As I said, this won't be saved with the preset, and that's a good thing. So it means every time you play, and let's say I'm using a different guitar, a completely different one, all I have to do is analyze the input level again, and it should sound pretty close to this. Obviously, the pickup and the guitar will change the sound a bit, but you're not gonna have to worry about it being overly distorted or, this is supposed to be a distorted sound, but it sounds clean because your gain level isn't high enough. It should be approximately the same for all of them. And from there, all you have to do is just go in here and just save it as whatever you like. So if you found this interesting and useful, give me a thumbs up, leave any questions and comments down below, and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.